Well, hello everyone. It has certainly been a minute, hasn't it, since I've uploaded a video to this channel, and I've got some good reason why. But as you can see on screen, I am indeed now in the Cities Skylines 2 game, and I'm going to explain exactly why I held off on creating videos and creating a new series for so long. Now, for those of you just discovering this channel and just discovering my little corner of the internet, my name is Michael, and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming in City Builders, the YouTube channel where I build cities and also talk about city building video games. And so, yeah. Today I am starting a completely new series, and the reason why I have held off on actually starting this new series is because I was really waiting to see if the Paradox mod community was going to come online. And by that I mean like the community as led by the Paradox Gaming Studio. And it just really doesn't seem to be that kind of a case. And I guess I waited a really long time, probably too long, some would probably say. But yeah, I was waiting to see if that was going to be the case or not. After all, this is a new video game, and we have been told that Cities Skylines 2 is going to continue to evolve and change as time goes by, much like Cities Skylines 1, which was a game that I really loved and enjoyed for the years. And yeah, so one of my biggest issues, I should say, is actually the first roadblock was really the maps, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm not going to click into each of the maps here, but there are issues that I had with the maps. I'm not a very good city builder in terms of like decoration and stuff, and you know, part of this series is actually to help and see if I can actually improve on my city building skills, but we'll just kind of cross that bridge when we get there, or build it perhaps. But yeah, I really, like, as a player that would consider themselves like not the greatest artist when it comes to city building games and all that, I found that the terrain was actually very difficult to work with in pretty much all of the maps. Like, if you look at the map, like the Great Highlands, it has those cliffs just on the edge of the coast there, and it was, although relatively flat, like in the middle of it, the cliffs at the edge just kind of didn't make sense to me in that kind of a sense. And also, like, the starting position was like right in the middle of one of these land masses here, and that also didn't make sense. It would make a little more sense to me if the starting position was like on the coast, because that is traditionally where cities are either founded. They're either founded on rivers or on coasts. And yeah, so I had issues with just like the general topography and the layout for each of the maps, and also I had issues with I didn't agree, I should say, with the starting positions for pretty much all of the maps. One of my favorite maps that came with the game was River Delta, and this is an example of the issue that I was facing. It looks beautiful. I had a great big plan for doing a whole series on River Delta, but as soon as I loaded it up, the terrain and the topography was very extreme, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it, because at the top of the map, it's at a much higher elevation than where the mouth of the river appears. And even then, like, it's a huge incline up and down. And although like I don't mind working with hills and working with elevations and all that, for my first city, what I was really looking for was something easy, something that I can build a massive city from and all that. And you know, the River Delta wasn't really gonna fit that need. Plus, like, I didn't like a lot of the I didn't like some of the temperature, yeah, some of the climates in there. I felt that some of them were just too cold, because it just felt like a lot of the maps on here were just not temperate enough for what I was going for. Like, winter would last a very long time. For example, like if we took it to the Great Highlands, no, it wasn't that one, it was another one. Another one that actually had very cold, yeah, it's like Tampere. This was a really great map. I think it's really beautifully done, but you know, the temperature on it was just a little too cold for what I was going for, and I just didn't want to do a whole lot of winter play. Even something like the sweeping plains, like you have so little room to actually play with on here, and then when you actually load up the map, there's a lot of topography even leading up to the mountains. Like these are beautiful maps, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to build like a really large sprawling city that had relatively easy topography to just kind of manage, just so that I'm able to try and enjoy all of the features in Cities Skylines too. And I guess maybe that's maybe that's a character flaw of mine, being a completionist in that kind of a sense, but yeah, that was really where I was going. But yeah, what's changed since then, and like what's kind of changed my heart about starting a new series is, firstly, like I learned how to use the Thunder.io website to download mods and stuff. So I've actually got mods in the game, and I will leave a list of the mods that I'm using in the description box below. But also they released 2 maps in winter in lieu of not being able to publish the DLCs that they had planned for the end of the year. And those 2 maps including Sunshine Peninsula and Coral Riches. Now, I've got like 3 different versions of Coral Riches in here, and that is because I have actually created my own map, and for some reason I've got a duplicate, so I don't know where that kind of came from, but it's there and it's not doing any harm to my game so far, so it's just gonna stay there. But yeah, Coral Riches was a really great map from my perspective. It had a lot of like easy terrain to work with. It had water that I really wanted to, it had like a proper coastline, I should say, that I really wanted to build. And yeah, really easy terrain to work with. And so I just made some modifications on it. I adjusted some of the road layout, some of the highway layout, and you'll see how bare bones that will look. And yeah, I really edited Coral Riches to be something that I actually would like to pursue, and something I feel like it became a map that could hold a city as large as I'm hoping it would. So let's get started on that. Make sure that unlock all and unlimited money is turned off. And yeah, let's get started on actually building the city here. And yeah, I'll show you guys more on that vision. I am going to call it Sovereign City Metro Region, just kind of after the channel. This is my first city that I'm really building in front of you guys. And yeah, so I don't expect it to be the most beautiful thing in the most beautiful series in the YouTube landscape, but I am absolutely, you know, just putting my foot out there, and I'm having a little bit of fun. So let's get into it. Immediately, the first change that you guys are probably going to notice is the way that I have the river laid out. And what I've done is I've kind of broken it off and created some, I guess, like little islands that are fractured off of the land here. And so these islands are going to serve as pretty much like the denser parts of this huge metro area. And so another change that I had made, as you'll see on screen, is I have adjusted the highways just so that it actually meets into the starting squares. And yeah, and in the original map, your starting squares was on this lake that was just kind of in the middle of it, and I really didn't think that would make a lot of sense in my opinion, because if you're founding a city, why are you founding it at this lake where you're going to make your way to the coast? I'm sure there are examples like out there in history where some like a city was founded not on a coast but inland nearby a coast. But what usually ends up happening is those cities end up building up near that coast anyways. And so for this play, for the Sovereign City Metro region, I decided that I really wanted to start it off like in the downtown core and on this particular island. So if we zoom in here, you'll see my highway work, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I'm kind of cheating a little bit in terms of the highways that I have designed. of course, they lead out to an outside connection, so that's not a problem. But this whole interchange in the middle here was a bit of a struggle in a way, and I'll share a bit of a story there. But the reason why I decided to actually build out like an east-west portion of the highway is just so that I can guide myself into continuing to build the city the way that I want to have it built. So I'm sort of cheating there because I am using the map editor tool to actually create that east-west set of highways there that lead to nowhere really. But but these highways are going to be something that I will continue to rebuild and to refine as the island that these islands are leading into, like with the starting squares. Like I totally anticipate to make this entire island the downtown core, the tallest parts of the city and all of that. So these are bound to be redesigned anyways. Now there is a story about these highways. So in the map editor mode, if you go and place an intersection, and yes, I will be placing those intersections because I don't really trust my skills to build intersections in here. But when you go to place an intersection in the map editor mode, it kind of gives this like grid that the intersection actually sits on, and you can't actually build roads underneath it, which doesn't make any sense. I had to do some testing with it, and like when I loaded it up in game and used cheats to actually place like the exact same intersection just nearby, you could still like build roads underneath. Maybe this is just me like being a noob at this game, but yeah, if you're placing intersections in the map editor mode, just like when you get the intersection upgrade or whatnot in the road menu, just know that it kind of has like a whole area that you can't build underneath. And that was really annoying because even though you don't typically build right up to intersections in a lot of ways, like I was still gonna have roads run underneath the highway, which is why I've got this highway raised the way that I do. And yeah, it is imperfect. Like there are some sections here where I am absolutely going to be deleting, but that's kind of what I wanted. I just wanted it for the layout here and for the grid. Speaking of which, let us move on and talk a little bit more about the entire game plan for the Sovereign City Metro region. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the downtown core first, since that is going to be the starting point of this series, and it's just going to continue to evolve and grow, and it's going to become like this dense metropolis, or so that's the idea here. So yeah, the idea with the downtown, and you'll see the screenshot pull up here with my presupposed plan, is that I do want some sort of a passenger rail connection, like some sort of a main station. I want an administrative, like political center in the downtown core because it does make sense. And then I also want to be doing so I've got those things there, and then also like there will be your classic like transit and all that throughout the rest of the downtown island, with certain places here and there of interest. I'm not too sure like where exactly I'm going to be placing the college, but just north of this island is another very large island, and it'll sort of act as like the borough to the downtown area. And with that northern island, I'm going to be placing like a university at the fork of the rivers there. And so yeah, that's kind of the game plan with those two areas. There is just really making sure that there's room for a passenger rail main station to actually go in, and then also figuring out a place for maybe a college in the downtown core, or perhaps even at the forked rivers here. That could be an interesting idea to play with, being a college at the fork of the downtown fork, and then another university, like an expanded campus at the other fork. I will have to literally cross that bridge when I get there if I deem it to be necessary. The goal for today is actually going to be a lot simpler than that, because that is a lot to do throughout the series here, and because I want to try and make this series as detailed as I possibly can. Again, I'm not the best city builder out there, but I do believe in the idea of practicing and becoming good. And so I'm practicing in front of everyone and broadcasting it live. But yeah, game plan today is actually going to be a lot simpler than that. Today, we are just going to essentially build out the grid for the downtown. We're going to zone it and just kind of looking at the different milestones here and the progression points. I think that like if we can get to Grand Village, that would be great. We might not even get there. But yeah, that is the game plan for today, is just to like focus in on the starting squares that we have, possibly slowly expand out and all that. Now, when it comes to like the larger vision here, which is always something that I do, I always work with a larger vision, excuse me. The island just south is going to be something that I'm going to reserve for some sort of a harbor. Now, I have no idea what I specifically want to do with it, only because like you can have a cargo harbor and, you know, a cruise ship harbor. It might essentially act like a second downtown on that island, but I'm not too sure exactly how that layout's going to turn out, but that's kind of the plan there, is just to make sure that it's got a harbor on it. And if we check out the different kind of like the wind direction, we have the wind blowing away and into the ocean, which makes sense, but it kind of blows in like a southwest direction, which is unfortunate in a way because it kind of forces me to really move our industry around. So yeah, the bigger vision outside of the southern island is really just to line the coast just east of it with most of the industrial, and then I'm actually planning to place that super large international airport just east of that, like inland, within that bigger land space there. That's really the big idea there, because I really like the design of the airport, and I think that you know, that's some sort of gameplay that I'd really think that I would like to have in this city. All right, but back to the task at hand. First things first is that I really need to get this road layout done. I'm going to do it in a grid fashion. I've already kind of got the grid started in the map editor tool, so I'm just going to continue using the measurements there. So the measurements that I actually ended up using for it was like 136 by 112, so 136 wide and then 112 height. And the reason why is because it allows some different orientations to be made here, and hopefully like I'm not just going to shoot myself in the foot for this, but we'll see how the layout actually turns out. But as you'll see on screen, like you can do a 6x6 on one side, you can do another 6x6 on the other side, and then you have like a 3x6 in the middle, so you can change up the orientations here and there, or even place something in the middle. Like if I wanted to place some sort of an alleyway or maybe even a couplet in the middle, I do have that flexibility with that grid. So yeah, I'm gonna get right into a time lapse to grid out pretty much everything that I possibly can within here, and then we will jump into the zoning. And yeah, it's gonna look like one big gritty. It's gonna be given some grid city vibes, but that is the look and feel that I am looking for in the downtown. And I'm also someone that just kind of needs to measure out these things before I kind of get creative with the road layouts and such. So these grids are absolutely not here to stay, even though it'll look very robotic for this first episode here. I absolutely am not attached to anything that you're going to be seeing on screen. And like I mentioned before, because of the wind direction, we're going to have to be moving the industrial around, so even the zonings that are on here are not going to be permanent or here to stay either. So anyways, let's just get into that time lapse and let's get Grid City happening. All right, so we are done that little time lapse there. I forgot to upgrade some of the middle roads here, so I'm just going to do that quickly. And if you are indeed sick of the grids already, well, I got some sad news for you. This is just how I work. I've got to have everything laid out, and then what I do is I demolish things, and then I reconstruct them to look a little more organically. That's how I've always played Cities Skylines 1, and it's how I'm playing Cities Skylines 2. It seems to kind of work that way. And plus, like, we also have to do a couple of things as well. Like, we have to play the game in order to reach the different milestones, and that's kind of the way that I've set up the series, is just so that we're always like continuing to change the layout and such. So yeah, this was intentional with the way that I have built out this world and to build out these grids. And so yeah, we'll just have to tolerate it for just a little bit more here. I'm sorry to say, but that's just gonna have to be the case here. All right, so I'm just deciding where I want some more medium density roads, only because like having one north-south road is all right. It's cool, it's fine, but I want another one, and I think I want it here, and I'm gonna attach it to the top grid, I think. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm trying to implement some sort of form of road hierarchy. These medium, these 4-lane medium roads will eventually be upgraded to be much larger, and even though like in the editor tool I use the, what do you call it, these boulevard roads, like I totally intend to have those upgraded to be much larger roads whenever we get the milestones and the points to actually purchase those. So that will be part of the plan. But yeah, I'm trying to put in some sort of form of road hierarchy here, and it's just going to be very loosely based. I just want this grid again as a guideline for myself, so that when I do go to delete things and to actually design real build outs, that I won't feel so lost in all of it. I guess we could use one more north-south here, and I'm going to align it to the right. I'm not afraid of imperfect cities either, but at the same time, I'm trying to give I'm trying to actually like make the city look as nice as I possibly can, and I really don't have any confidence in my own city building skills, especially when doing it on YouTube and all that jazz. So we've built out the grid here. We are almost at our first progression point, and we haven't even zoned anything yet. Now, let's talk a little bit about like utilities and resources. So I did connect like a water and sewage pipeline to an outside connection. So as you can tell from the screen and from the power lines that are also connected from the outside connection, we're going to be importing a lot of those. Now, the reason being for that is that I'm not too sure if ground pollution even gets removed. If so, it does take a long time before you can actually remove ground pollution. So if we go to our other map here, the wind is blowing in the direction towards the ocean. And I'm not, I think I might have said it earlier that it might make sense, but I'm not too sure anymore in terms of wind direction. Regardless, I wasn't able to change it in the world editor mode because I am not too sure how to actually change the wind direction. I was looking up some Google search results and I just wasn't able to find anything. But like I mentioned earlier in this series, what this means is just that we're going to have to rotate our industry along the coast of the downtown island here. And so, we're just going to have to play the game a little bit like that. In real life, a lot of industrial places get redeveloped, and that's going to kind of be the idea here. But yeah, I didn't want to place like a coal plant or like garbage collection services here because I just feel like it wouldn't, I just feel like it would cause too much pollution that I wouldn't be able to remove, and I didn't want to do that for me. Speaking of like these different map views and everything, let's just take, I don't even think, can we actually take a look at our resources at this point? Will it allow me to do that? Because that would be so annoying if it didn't. Like, it's not going to allow me to do that. All right. What I will tell you is that when it comes to the different resources, there we go. We have to become a large village first. So maybe by the end of the episode, I'll show you. But yeah, I've got the city planned out. I've got the map planned out with different areas for natural resources, just like where it made sense. In the original map, everything was just kind of blotted everywhere. Like you'd have a little bit of ore here, a little bit of oil here, some fertile land there, and it was just like, okay, it just didn't make any kind of sense. So I figured that I would delete it all and then just kind of add in my own. But yeah, when the time comes, we will actually, when we start unlocking these milestones, I'll actually show you guys there more in depth. But in order to do that though, we are going to have to actually connect ourselves to power, put in some industry, and yeah, just keep it going. So let's do that. I have to put in one of these transformer stations and not too sure where I want to put this one. Because the thing is that I have to drag out the power line, right? And with these power lines, I actually don't mind the look of them per se, like when they're used appropriately. I think there's a time and a place. And to me, like when it comes to like major neighborhoods like the downtown island, I would absolutely expect there to be a transformer station or two. So I'm trying to like determine here like what would be the best case scenario. And keep in mind, like this power line is going to be absolutely temporary. I'm gonna delete it out for a proper interchange here at one point, and this line is this power line is absolutely not gonna stay. In fact, it might even be something that continues underground, or maybe I'll just light up the highways and whatnot. But yeah, so yeah, with that said, this transformer station, I keep having to look at the name, may not be as permanent as I think it should be. So, you know, for the sake of convenience and for the sake that I'm going to likely delete it, I'm just going to place it here, and we are going to connect it up from here. All right, cool. So we're all locked and loaded for power. Let's start the zoning. So let's start with the industry, since I keep talking about the industry here. I'm almost like contemplating just like mass zoning industry in a way, like doing it a couple of blocks at a time, only because I know it's not going to be permanent, and I'm going to play the game just a little bit. So going to do some mass zoning of the industry there. This road, no matter what, is going to be commercial of some kind. So I'm just going to zone it at 6 for each. 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just gonna, yeah, mass zone it, have a proper commercial zone. Oh, I was even one short there. Okay. And then of course comes residential. The never-ending the never-ending demand for low-density single-family home residential, and we are using the North American style zones as well. I do have developer mode enabled as well, so you guys might see a couple of things. I might take the time, like when we get to a certain point where we've earned enough milestones and we're earning enough money, where I'll just actually go back and really do some specific detailing. But let's get these single family homes in place here. There's a lot of them. And then yeah, let's run the simulation and see what grows and what comes about. All right, looks like we reached our first milestone. I had a feeling that this would happen. We get a little bit of money, we get some points. We just get 1 point really, and then we get some places to purchase. Just kind of looking at what else we get here. Map tiles, of course, are in here. Now, when it comes to like the different milestones and development points and all of that, I am definitely going to look into purchasing like up to intersections. So that's going to lead me to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, So 2, 4, I'll need at least 9 progression points. But because we don't have any of that for now, I'm just going to purchase the advanced road services. This will definitely be part of the priority. Eventually, like, we're gonna have to get into like some electricity and water and sewage, because again, like, I really don't like the fact that the sewage outlet like produces a lot of pollution in the water, even when you purchase it with the upgrade. So you know, we'll just export the sewage for now. We are still making money. We're actually making a little bit of money here. And as you can see, we've also unlocked medium density as well, like medium density row houses. So let's zone some of that in. I want it like sitting right behind the commercial here. Eventually, this whole island is essentially downtown, so it'll all be high density at one point, but because we have got a demand for it, we are certainly going to zone for it. And we've also got a demand for a little bit of commercial as well, so why don't we just extend that block here. Okay, and let's do the zoning. Speaking of which, like, the zoning is very tedious. Not something that I was very, like, I'm not really one that sees all the okay, let me try that again. I see Cities Skylines 2 as a game that's just starting. It's just growing. Cities Skylines 1, when it was first released, wasn't the magnificent masterpiece that it was as it exists today in 2024. And that's how I feel that Cities Skylines 2 is essentially, is just that it's this diamond in the rough. It has the like a really great bone structure, and I see a lot of potential in Cities Skylines 2. I just feel that it's not something that I just feel like it sort of has to come into its own. And this whole zoning thing, like, by the time I finished playing Cities Skylines 1, I was just manually plopping all of my buildings. And I get it, you can do it in developer mode. Like, I can just jump in here, grab like a townhouse, if I can spell, or a row house. Apparently I don't know what I'm doing. So I can grab like those row houses and all that, like, from the menu there, if I had the patience to. But for now, I'm just going to zone it. I'm just going to play it by ear, because I really do want those progression points. I want the ability to unlock some map tiles, and I also want us to like continue building some money as well. And another thing as well, like for industry and like, I will eventually start doing some specialized industry in terms of, like, you know, ore or the stone mining or some of the farms, because we are just starting out in this island here. I will have to I'll have to like rezone that at a later time, but eventually, like, the farms and stuff will be like way out here, and there'll actually be like real rural play. It's just that for now, like, I have to play by the game mechanics, and right now those mechanics were demanding some row houses, so gotta kind of play it by ear there. And hopefully these will zone in. That's another thing as well, is like the zones are absolutely picky and terrible to really work with, so you're always like playing whack-a-mole here and there. I got lucky this time around, but yeah, that's going to be the case. But yeah, you can see like what I did with the zoning here. Again, it's like a 136 by a 112, because what I'll do is I'll zone in some like medium density housing, and I'll do it like just right behind the commercial here, just sort of where it makes a little more sense to do so. All right, looks like we got more demand for it, so I am going to appease that demand meter. See if they grow in properly. And then you can't tell like where the orientation of the grid actually sits. So I've done the whole, you know, using the, like using pedestrian paths to try and control zoning. And again, it's very tedious. It's not something that I'm a huge fan of. Now, one thing that we are going to have to like really take into consideration is, do I have schools yet? No, I don't. But getting some sort of like a school pipeline, an education pipeline implemented in the city is going to have to be something that I do have to consider for this episode, because in order to get like all those high-rise buildings and stuff like that, and opportunities like that, I suppose, in order to build more densely, it's usually done through a more educated workforce. And so getting them, like, education takes time, so I've got to really actually do the education pipeline a little bit for this episode, which I think is fair. Like, to play the game, like, I absolutely think it's fair here to do that. Just want to look at these row houses that are coming in finally, which is great. Love to see that. Like, the longer you make them, the more people you can actually fit in. And yeah, I'll eventually like stagger the sizes and all that, but yeah, you can have like about 6 households there. In this one, they've only got 6 people, but sometimes, and 2 pets, but sometimes like you'll have like 8 people, or as they level up or start having kids and whatnot, the population will actually properly expand. So I like that a lot. And actually, row houses is honestly one of my favorite game mechanics here, because you can do a lot with row houses in terms of designs. And yeah, like, there will come a time where I actually will stop and do some proper detailing of this world, but you can do proper designs with row houses, like having it complement a an apartment block or something. Like, I absolutely do see like row houses being very predominant in the downtown core, and like really complementing towers and all that, because just filling this up with towers is just gonna look terrible. And my goal and my hope is that I'll actually have the skill set to try and make each neighborhood like feel like a real place. So that's kind of my goal here. And yeah, these single family home residential, they're just here to fill a meter requirement right now. I don't even care about them. These are gonna get rezoned so quickly when we get to that time, but we've got to expand out first. That's gonna be the most important part here. But yeah, we're still earning money, and that was something else that I noticed as well. I did a little bit of testing in this map, is that like when you go to import and export your power, in the beginning it doesn't cost a whole lot. I know it's going to be a problem eventually, but we've really got to unlock the tiles that just sit over here before I want to actually place like a permanent power plant. I might have to play the game a little bit in terms of like power and garbage. So even though like my goal is to try and get like that power structure just down here, what's the quickest way to it? Probably through the island is going to be the quickest way to it. Yeah, even though I want to do that, you know, if the game forces my hand in terms of switching up tactics, that's gonna be how I'll have to do it. So, all right, so still tiny village, still doing that. We got insatiable demand, of course, for single family homes. So it's just kind of gonna be the way that we play the game is just zoning up at this point here. I'm gonna try and get these row houses to face the same way, because I actually do think that this block will just end up being rezoned. It won't necessarily be something that I demolish completely, but you know, everything is set to change at a moment, so who knows how I'll feel about that at the end there. And let's get some different size blocks here too. I know that I've kind of let the game do its own thing here, but I will just be lazy with that one. Alright, and it looks like we don't have any demand for anything, so that just means I can speed things up, but we're making money, which is great. We have about 89 people just kind of hanging out, living here, so yeah, it looks like things are looking up for the Sovereign City Metro region, at least. So yeah, let's take a moment and just kind of watch it grow. All right, gotta play a little whack-a-mole here with some of these townhouses, so don't mind me doing that. Yeah, things are looking pretty good here in terms of the way that the city is shaping up to be. If we look at the main drag here, which I guess is Wood Street in our case, there's a bunch of parking lots, which I like. I love parking lots, and there's also like a bunch of commercial buildings as well that just kind of sit behind them. I did notice like a little hearse icon pop up, and you know, there might have to be a moment where I try to deal with that situation. But yeah, we've got a demand for commercial right now, so I'm just gonna lean into it like I always do. So I'm gonna build some of that. Again, the one thing that I really don't care for is that the orientation of the grid can't be controlled more specifically. And even when you go into developer mode to place those, buildings, you still have to build a grid underneath them. It's very tedious when it comes to that, and so I'm sure that like some sort of a plopper mod is on the way. And again, like, I'm not trying to complain about a game that was just released, but I also kind of feel like maybe I should save this for a proper review at some point, but I just kind of think that Paradox dropped the ball a little bit in terms of the modder community. They should have really had that aspect up and running right away. Okay, we got a little issue here with waiting for an ambulance. You know, we are making money, so I almost want to just place this in here right now. Is this really gonna fit in perfectly? My goodness, that's great. I'm gonna place it in here so I'm not destroying so much commercial because we got a demand for it. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, what do these extensions look like? Okay, all right, cool. Nothing I care for there. I am going to line this a little bit with some trees. I think I'm going to go with the hickory. Now, how did I do this? Okay, yeah, I downloaded the tree line mod, and I'm just like forgetting how to actually do it. Okay, there we go. So it's just a simple left click. Again, sometimes I'm like, sometimes I just feel like I'm just learning with you guys. It's because I haven't played the game for so long, and you know, the minute those mods started coming online and I started seeing them everywhere, I suddenly wanted to play Cities Skylines 2 again, so here I am. We do have some demand for industrial, it looks like. I think I might have went a little too far here, but you know, I'm just going to keep zoning on this side here. And then we'll just kind of build out there. I am actually going to save this square for a proper school, so as soon as we unlock the school, I will delete it out and get it and get a elementary school built right in that area. But yeah, right now the city is looking pretty great. I like the entrance here. It feels like a small town. It doesn't feel like a city, which is good. I mean, it is a small town after all. We've only got like 300 people here. And that's another thing too that I wanted to mention, is that Cities Skylines 2 doesn't do small towns very well. Like, if we look at the train station, I don't have access to it, so I can't really show you, but I'm sure I'll bring it up then because I like to repeat myself. But you know, the train station doesn't have a lot of like its form doesn't lend itself well to smaller towns or even suburbs. And that was something that I struggled finding for assets in Cities Skylines 1 as well, is just that those small town forms were just a little hard to come by. And yeah, even though like for some reason this actually feels like a small town, it's still very built up for a small town. I mean, look at all these row houses that I'm having to place there. There's like a demand for it for some reason. So I would expect this to actually flank a proper small town, but because this is not a small town area that I'm building within this region, I'm fine with the way that it is shaping up to be. And we just got this demand for so much commercial here. All right, let's continue meeting it. Let's actually border these off. So 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do that. If I had access to parking lots, I'd probably be placing more parking lots, but because I don't have access to it, I'm fine with this. There we go. All right. And there we go. That demand for commercial will be tempered a little more. Will be taken care of, hopefully. I am saving the gaps in between for mid-rise housing, medium density housing. And that's another thing too that I really love about Cities Skylines is not only row houses, which I love in general, but also, you know, there's a real medium density. I mentioned it in one of my reviews in one of my first videos, and I honestly don't expect any of you guys to check it out because it is such an old video, but I did mention that like when it comes to mixed housing or mixed zones, that there's actually a really great opportunity there for the Cities Skylines team to really expand upon. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a commercial mixed with medium density housing. It could also be like commercial mixed with, you know, high dense housing. Because this one only fulfills the needs for like medium density housing and commercial, whereas, you know, a mixed use with high density could fill those needs, because there's a separate meter for high density demand as well, which is kind of interesting, because I would think that, you know, medium density and high density would sort of be similar in terms of like I'm surprised that they have different meters for medium density and high density, but I could be wrong there. It could be a nice way to represent the missing middle. Okay, I convinced myself. It's a great way to represent the missing middle. And I'm just going to be zoning here a little bit. I gotta play the game before I actually do anything that has some sort of a design to it. But yeah, I really, like for this episode, I really want to get to our education marks, build out our elementary school, and then in the next episode, I really want to take a harder look at the layout that I want with the city, because we'll have some development points to spend. We'll also have some map tiles to buy as well, and this train line, even though like when I was in the map editor, I was thinking I would have the train station further down south, I might not anymore. It really depends on how large the graveyard is. By the way, the graveyard is a beautiful asset. I absolutely do want to include it here as a way to like have some sort of a large recreational park area, because cemeteries can sometimes have those properties. So like they'll also like double as parks or walkways and such. Like I've seen many cemeteries in the middle of cities that are older and that are just like nice to actually be in. So, you know, I'll kind of have that sort of an idea going forward. By the way, this like Wood Street is totally right for rezoning for, you know, mixed use density. As much as I love the look of this, like if you don't look too closely, it does kind of look like a small town commercial center with like a Strode in the middle and everything. But yeah, really enjoying this so far, and I can't wait to see just what else happens here. But for now, I am just going to continue zoning out and fulfilling that commercial demand that just cannot be satiated. So let's just keep doing that. And with that, we are indeed a small village at this point. So we got ourselves more progression points, which is great. We've also got some expansion permits. We got $700,000 in the bank. We've also just unlocked the rock musician mansion, which is also great. And we've got a whole slew of other things. We've got education, finally got some medium density housing. So I will be placing some of these in. So yeah, let's zone for a little bit of, what have you got there? You've got problems with not enough customers. Well, let me tell you, you're going to get some customers, cause 5, 6, cause we are going to place some apartments here. So enjoy, sir. Okay, so let us clear out this little spot here. For this one, like, I'm pretty confident. Well, no matter what, I'm going to need some sort of a school and high school for the downtown peninsula. Or sorry, not the downtown peninsula, but the downtown island. And what is... I just clicked on a road and it did something weird. What the heck? Crest Street is crazy. I'm also not going to bother with naming any of the streets, because they change so much and they're very fickle and I just don't really care for it. So sorry if you really wanted me to name streets. I just think that with the game mechanics as they are right now, that it just doesn't make sense to actually do it. Okay, so we've got a school to get built here, an elementary school, and I want to do a good job at it to just show you guys that I'm not indeed yeah, I just want to show you guys that I can actually build something and make it look relatively nice. I like the idea of having the school here. I think that what would make sense is having some sports facilities behind it and all that. And actually, you know what? I don't like this orientation anymore. I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna place it on this orientation here. The reason being for that is because I placed it on one of those collector roads, or yeah, an arterial road, I guess. I'm not too sure like what the actual proper term for it is, but I placed it on there and I really want to help expand this a little more. With our park options right now, they are, well, they're not even granted to us, so I can't even play with the parks. But what I can do is I think I can spend some of these progression points. Development points. So let's see what we can get. I did the advanced road services, great. I've got 2 points available to me right now. I can buy a college, which is interesting. An incinerator plant. I'm gonna choose to save them, actually. Like I mentioned a little earlier, I do plan to use the graveyard, so in this build as part of a way to help add some green space into the city, so I'm not too concerned about that. And I do want a lot more stuff with roads, you know, parking. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna spend it on parking. Am I really gonna do that? I love parking. I'm gonna do it. I need it for decorating. I love parking, really. Speaking of which, let's just put in some parking here. So if you see something new in the upgrade tab here, like you'll probably see this like elevated retaining wall key and all that. That's because I do have a mod installed. Again, those mods can be found in the description box, so feel free to check those out. I think that what would make sense here is actually a parking lot. And we are going to see if that will actually spawn something. What did I just place there? Okay, good. Medium density apartments. If not, I can always just replace it with some row houses. And that's another thing with the row houses too, is that they actually look nice. And they fill up like a very unique space. Because in Cities Skylines 1, I was always struggling to try and find like enough row housing props and all that. And it's nice to just kind of have it in the game and there being a legitimate use for them, other than trying to fulfill some demands. Yeah, other than them trying to fulfill like some like high density demands, like there's an actual medium density demand. I know I'd literally just convinced myself that it's something good to have, but yeah, I truly like it. I truly like the way that happens. So yeah, I'm just gonna build a little loop here, and with that loop, I hate it. What a terrible looking loop. This is what I mean by me just having to experiment a little bit with the game and all of that to try and make things look good. I also wish we had an undo button as well. That would really help a lot in terms of getting these details done. I also like another thing about Cities Skylines too that I really like is the alleyway system. Or sorry, not the alleyway system, but the alley roads. I think that there is such a great use case for them. I just wish that there was like a nicer version of them, because I know I'll be using these for like suburbs and stuff as we actually expand the city way further outwards. I decided to use the streets as my grid because I do want side street parking within the downtown grid here. Now, like I keep mentioning, like this whole island is going to be like hardcore downtown, super dense, super tall, and so we kind of need the streets with a little bit of street parking to help facilitate that. And speaking of streets, I just spotted some streets I forgot to upgrade, so I will do just that. I used to always it used to be a pet peeve of mine, like when creators would miss something, and now here I am missing something there. Okay, so back to the elementary school. There is no such thing as parks that I have access to at this time, so I am going to add what would look better. What does the clinic actually do? Plus health for students. This actually doesn't look too bad. That'll expand like that. Where do I want to place the parking? I like the idea of having parking in the corners. Yeah, we'll do parking in the corners, and then probably killed my money. But yeah, I like the idea of having parking in the corners and landscaping. Okay, cool. We can do this. Yeah, for this being like my first City Skylines series, like I do apologize if the flow seems a little broken, because I really haven't found my flow when it comes to City Skylines yet anyways, so I pretty much have no idea what I'm doing. And I hope that it's at least entertaining enough to keep you guys entertained and that you're actually enjoying this. So I'm gonna just snap to the sides of the building and existing geometry. Going to snap it in like that and like that. Just gonna border it out a little bit. And that's another thing too about this. Oh, I did that wrong. I hate that the paths don't connect. That's something that kind of bothers me a lot, is that the paths don't connect to buildings. Cause like pedestrians won't actually take the path that I just built into the school, I don't think. And that bothers me. It bothers me a lot. So am I gonna line this with trees? No, because I am going to figure out what I'm doing with the parking here. This parking is important. Do I want the medium? No, I just want small, but I also don't want it looking like that. So we'll go with the medium. And to get like out of that white view, by the way, like when you click on here and it's showing white, just click I and it'll take you out of it, like so. Okay, we need to build some more roads. I can press play on here. I'm gonna see if that will actually look good for a parking lot, because I just want to... And then we'll just end it off with a tiny little roundabout here. Cool, that looks plausible. Okay, yeah, so I just want to really... What was the length on this? Okay, gonna have to guess it. I hope this is it. I wish you could just like drag out some of the roads. There was a mod in Cities Skylines 1 that allowed you to do that. I think it was like, it was either an anarchy mod or it was one of the road ones, one of the advanced road ones, and I loved it because it ruled. Okay, that actually looks like it was even. Perfect. Okay, let's start lining this up. I'm just going to continue building. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do some detailing for last. That'll be the last thing I do in this episode. All right, so the next thing that I think we should build is... I'm kind of reluctant to do it, only because the high school actually costs like $45,000 a month, but I also kind of know that we're going to need it anyways. And I'm pretty confident with the way that everything has shaped out to be in this world, so I'm not entirely too worried about it, if I'm gonna be honest. But before that, let's zone out some commercial here. 4, 5, 6. Got another row of 6. I'm gonna zone along the arterial here, and oh, look at that, broken zoning. I love that when that happens. I'm gonna accept it. I actually, like, I've been thinking a little bit about this road while we've been playing here, and this horizontal road, Crest Street, it might, like, at least for the eastern portion of it, it might actually turn into something like much larger. Like, it might even turn into part of the highway. I'm still kind of flirting with that idea of having like a highway completely cut through the downtown and then just continue on over. And the reason why I'm flirting with that idea is only because I think it might actually be necessary, just because it would be such an important movement for traffic that comes from all over the region, and having to travel through here and like just forcing it into an arterial street just might not be the best choice here. It also kind of feels like it's reflecting realism a little bit in terms of like redeveloping something into like a highway, which I guess is more of a reflection of American realism, but hey, it is what it is. And yeah, when designing this, when designing the downtown, like I always knew that there would be some things that I would change and all of that. So yeah. But before we get into, you know what, I am going to risk it, and I am going to zone for build the high school. And look at that, it is raining, our first ever raining season, I suppose. We are in spring, and when I built the map, I decided to have it start in March, just so that I can give players like an earlier year, like a longer time to play without any kind of snow. So you're welcome if you are a player that particularly enjoys that. I'm going to place this towards the side like this. I do really love the high school. Actually, one thing that I really enjoy from Cities Skylines 2 is actually the size of the assets. And it is a little bit of a controversial thing to say, but I like that things are a much bigger in terms of the assets, because it just kind of gives way for more... It just kind of puts more impact into your actual city, and that's something that I really love. So yeah, I really enjoy the size of the assets. And in Cities Skylines 1, I found that the like as you downloaded DLC, as like new DLC was developed, it kind of like the oh, what am I trying to say here? Like the scale was never consistent, if that makes any sense. So yeah, the scale of Cities Skylines 1 isn't consistent because you would build like an airport and you would use the airport object from Cities Skylines 1, but then when the airport DLC actually came out, well, suddenly we had to take that into account as well. I know that there are upgrades with the high school here, so let's just kind of see how they look. I like how both of those look, but how does this look? I actually love that so much. If I deleted those roads, could I get it to blank on the back? Okay, that is actually perfect in terms of it just fitting perfectly. So I'm gonna do it. What it does is it's a perfect place for students and surrounding citizens to improve their health. It gives +40 outdoor recreation, and that's great. So yeah, this campus actually turned out. I think I'll just line the sides here with some trees. I will do a detailing time lapse at the end of this, and then we'll move into like what's next and all of that. And I think that it wouldn't be fair if I didn't put in some sort of a parking situation in the back here, because otherwise Sims are just not going to they're not gonna like me very much. They're gonna have nowhere to park in their football games. And that's another thing too, that because this is like considered the downtown core in this build, that there won't actually be a whole lot of parking. So even though like I added in some parking here, this I am fully expecting to upzone as time goes by. So I'm gonna put the parking here. I love how I was so hesitant to put in parking, and now I am just absolutely loving it. Except what that did there. Oh, by the way, I made the parking here free. I figured that for a school like an elementary school, that free parking would make sense. Here, because the parking is more so facing the football stadium and the track and field stadium, I'm not gonna make it free. I'm gonna just price it at a very low cost, but it won't be free. So that's too bad. And we are a large village. Let's see what that gives us. It gives us some livestock farming. It gives us stone mining, which is actually very important. I have played this game a little bit beforehand, and something that really helps to improve your revenue is like the specialized industries, so like the livestock farming and the stone mining. And I'll place some stone mines in here before we move on and carry on. But yeah, we've got some new milestones there. We've got more tile purchasing points, and I will get into the tile purchasing at the end of the episode after the time lapse. But yeah, for roads, we've got a few more things here. Do I want to purchase large roads? I might. Let's just kind of hold off on here though, because it might make more sense to actually invest in the gas power plant, or maybe something from here like the water treatment plant. Is there something that just has one that perhaps we could invest in? The college, I mean, that would make sense to an extent. Fire station, I'm just kind of looking here. The welfare office, actually the welfare office is pretty important in terms of like controlling the high rent and stuff. It's a little underrated in a way, and yeah, I'll look into doing that. But for now, I'm not feeling particularly moved by anything. Underground parking building, okay, that could be interesting. Okay, yeah, so I'm definitely not going anywhere near there, but I'm just gonna continue building out the parking lot here, and I might have to. Did that almost work? Oh, that almost worked perfectly. I'm gonna make it work perfectly. Okay, so we're just going to move this, but I'm gonna Get out of that view. And that did nothing at all because I don't know what I'm doing. How do you do the... I thought there was a way to like do it so that it just shifts in like 90-degree angles, but I think I am wrong on that. Oh god, that is just gonna bother me like crazy. All right, let's just fidget with it a little more, see if I can get it to line up perfectly. I don't think it helps that. Oh boy. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to actually delete all of these and start in the middle and then build my way out. That might make a lot more sense. Yeah, like I said, I'm new. I'm new around these parts. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. And yeah, we'll just... I'm gonna leave a little gap in the middle though. Although I would have loved to have them connected, it's just not going to... It doesn't seem like it's just going to cooperate with me. It's just going to drive me nuts with the way it does it. And I also especially hate how it flips it on me, because I believe it's flipped. Yep, it's flipped. Oh yeah. You can't get it perfect. How much of a gap are we looking at here? About half a square. I'm gonna live with that. I'm gonna live with that, and I'm afraid you guys are gonna have to live with that too. Actually, you know what? Because I did the extra landscaping tools, I can just add in a pavement surface. So let's see if this will work for me. Hopefully this is the right one. Of course it's not. Yep, it is not the right one, and I don't think that we can delete it unless there's a way to... Oh yeah, you have to do the crazy thing with the delete. Okay, so in order to delete those, you have to actually right-click the different corners there. A little annoying. And I just did it. Sorry about this, you guys. It's probably very painful to watch. All right, perfect. And we will also connect this one here. Look at that. It's not perfectly aligned, but I'm not going to let perfect drive me nuts here. Okay, just going to keep it like that. And you know what? I'm just going to have to keep it zoomed out here. All right, so we've got our high school in. We have got a lot of commercial that's being developed right now. I'm getting more demands for the low rise, or sorry, the low density housing, some more demands for medium density housing crawling in. So let's just zone in some of the low density housing quickly. It's going to do some of that. And then, you know, to tackle some of the medium density housing, let's just quickly put in this as well, because that'll help to keep the areas looking full. Oh, look at that. I missed some of the row housing, so we'll just add that in quickly. And I am sure that this will help to cover all of the medium density demand, and it certainly did. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, the industrial that you see here, it's all going to be relocated. I'm just putting it here for the wind and all of that. So if it's driving you a little crazy, don't worry, it's also driving me crazy that I have to put industrial here. But whatever. It is for a good cause. Well, it's not for a good cause, it's for a necessity cause. But yeah, I feel like that's a good time to just kind of move into a detailing time lapse, just at least around the different schools here. For everything else that's going on in the area, I fully expect it to change, so I don't want to do any work that I don't think is necessary to do. But yeah, I will just put it there and let us get into that detailing time lapse. Alright, so I think that's gonna about do it for today's episode. I really wanted to get some sort of an education pipeline going, and most importantly, I really just wanted to establish the downtown grid that I wanted to work with. There are some problems happening in the city right now, as you can tell from all of these icons here. So we've got a lack of labor, so they just can't find enough employees, and we are now starting to get some death issues occurring. Maybe those will go away. We'll just have to, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If we ignore the problem, maybe it'll go away. But what that just kind of goes to show is just that we need to be doing a little bit more careful planning here and there. And before we kind of end off the episode, I'll just quickly zone in some more single family or low, what is it called? Low density residential. Okay. I think I've been calling it the wrong thing this whole time. I've been calling it something else, but at least the terms are somewhat related. But yeah, we've got more of those demands coming in. Actually, it's mostly residential demands. Why don't I just zone up this whole thing? But yeah, I think that for the time being, this is a good place to leave it off at. When taking a look into the future, we are definitely going to have to do some more tile purchases. Particularly, I want to actually get this industry moved, and so I did take a look at this, and I haven't decided it or made a final decision yet, but I'm thinking that we are indeed going to cross this island, build out the road or the bridge that goes here, and then start placing some of those industrial assets and relocating the industry to down here so that the wind starts to blow like towards off screen, because I did want this entire coast really to be more industrial and all of that. So that is going to be on the agenda for the next episode here. And I think I even said that I wanted to Yeah, you know what? I won't even do that. I think I promised that I was going to put in some stone quarries or whatever, but I am just kind of, you know, we're just at the end of the episode here, and it would make no sense to do it now since I'm having to, since I'm going to end it off and relocate the industry anyways. Let's see if it can even fit in these grids. Sort of can. What does this even mean? Okay, that's ugly. Okay, so it can only fit one certain way. All right. Everybody's happy for it. Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it off for today. I do have some closing cinematics here just to kind of show you guys how the city has grown and what it's shaping up to look like. So feel free to stick around for that. And if you enjoyed this new start to this series, and if you've enjoyed this episode, then feel free to like this video and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.